In this module, we'll be learning about some tools and methods on how to restore contrast and detail in the old photo. We'll begin in this video using the channel mixer to add some initial contrast to be built upon later. So let's go ahead and get started. So as we can still see here, the photo is very much washed out, okay, despite the fact that we've already added a couple of adjustment layers. So again, just to recap, I added that hue saturation adjustment layer basically to where we see everything in grayscale, because that's really going to help my eyes focus on the areas where I'm wanting to really adjust the tones or values or your darks and lights, if you will. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of approaches, and then we'll talk about why using the channel mixer in this scenario really will give you the most control in building up the contrast initially. So I'm going to temporarily turn off the visibility of those adjustment layers. Now, one thing I would not recommend is adding another adjustment layer for brightness and contrast, because you just don't really have a lot of control in this particular situation. Okay, it might look nice in some areas, but you only have two sliders here, one for brightness and one for contrast, and it's really kind of a blunt instrument for what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So coming back to this original photo copy layer, which again was a duplicate of the background image of the original photo, I'm going to right click it. We're going to choose duplicate layer. So we're duplicating it. We're going to switch its blend mode right here to multiply. And so that gives you some contrast. And you could probably build on this, but given the two adjustment layers that I've added and the edits I've made with those layers, I'm actually losing some detail, notably right in here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Another approach that we could take that will really get us closer to where we want to be is by going into the channels panel once again. Okay, so if we look at cyan, okay, and actually let's go ahead and turn off the adjustment layers temporarily once again. If we look at cyan, this is where we could see that pen marking most visibly. If you look at the image, it's really washed out. Let's see what it looks like on magenta. Not as washed out as cyan, but still really washed out. The contrast is a little bit better. And then if we look at the yellow channel, this is where the contrast is the strongest amongst all of these channels, especially black. So what you could try with the yellow channel selected, you could hit Control A to select everything within that channel. Hit Control C to copy that channel. Select the black channel, hit Control V to paste. So basically you're pasting what you have in the yellow channel into the black channel. Now we haven't removed anything in the yellow channel. We're basically duplicating it on another channel there. So looking at the composite, you can see how the contrast looks a lot better, and we can make that comparison between that and the original photo. So that looks pretty good. I think we could start to work with this and edit it further with using some curves adjustment layers, which we'll use later on. But I would really like to have just a little bit more control as to the percentage of yellow, that yellow channel that I pull into the black channel. So that's where the channel mixer comes in. So just hitting Alt Control Z a couple times, taking a couple steps back there. I'll go ahead and turn on the visibility of both of those hue saturation and channel mixer adjustment layers. Double click on the icon for the channel mixer, taking you into the properties panel. So currently we're actually looking at the yellow output channel, and if you recall, I didn't zero out the yellow for that channel, okay? Just because we still have a lot of valuable information on that channel that we really would like to keep. Same thing for the magenta channel as well. I didn't really see a need to do that. Again, you want to try to keep as much information as possible to work with. We're going to go to the black output channel. So this is the same again as if we're just looking at the black channel. And if you recall, we zeroed out black, and that was for those black markings down in this part of the image, trying to reduce the visibility of that as much as possible. So what I would like to do is where we have yellow right here, let's start to bring that up just a little less than halfway. And you can start to see how that dramatically improves the contrast. We could go further, say around 80–85%, and that actually looks pretty good. Overall, it's doing a good job bringing back a lot of that contrast, okay? So we're seeing a dramatic change in the tones, the darks and lights again. Now, I wouldn't go any further than 100. Basically, you don't want to exceed the total that you have for all these channels for this output, because then you're going to start to see that you're not quite getting the visual results that you want. I can already see this is not how I'd want it to look right here. The contrast is too extreme. So again, I think around 80, 85% I think will work. So again, we're just bringing in some more yellow into that black channel. Let's go to our layers panel once again, and just toggling the visibility of this group right here, which contains that duplicate of the background layer and the two adjustment layers we have. You can see what a dramatic change we've already achieved here in just reducing the visibility of the pen markings and other markings, and also building up the contrast. Now, despite having done this, there is still one part of the image that we really have not been able to really bring back much information. And it's this part right here, the man in the hat. If we go back and look at the original image, you can see he is arguably the most washed out portion of the entire photo. Okay, he's almost a complete white silhouette. There's still some data in there that we can pull out, some detail that we can bring back, but even with these adjustments that we've made here, we still got a lot more that we could probably try to bring out. So what I would like to do in this particular scenario is, before making any additional global edits to the overall tones of the image, I want to try and bring the tones, the darks and lights. I really want to try to bring up the contrast more, bring out more detail on the man in the hat to be closer to what we currently have before moving further. Okay, so in doing so, we really just want to focus on his upper body, basically where everything is that white silhouette. So we're going to shift gears in the next video and talk about working with quick masks and saving selections. And this will give us a lot of control on focusing on just this particular area, as well as some other areas as well where we'll implement the same process. So we'll begin learning how to paint quick masks and save selections in the next video.